Imagine a major conflict breaking out tomorrow. The opening move doesn't happen at a border crossing, and no conventional weapons are fired. The first strike happens 22,000 miles above your head, in absolute silence. Before any alarm sounds on the ground, the GPS stops working. Financial networks freeze, unable to timestamp transactions. Military communications go dark, leaving entire defensive grids completely blind. This animated chart illustrates the rapid accumulation of active satellites orbiting Earth. Over the last 15 years, you can see the total climb from under 1,000 to rocketing past 9,000 active systems. That massive physical expansion creates an enormous, highly visible target. Modern defense strategies are entirely hardwired to this network. Over 90% of long-range military communications, drone operations, and precision-guided weapons require an unbroken link to orbit to function. Without those orbital links, a modern military reverts to mid-20th century tactics. National survival is no longer a matter of ground troops. It depends entirely on who maintains control of the sky. In October 1957, the Soviet Union launched a beach ball-sized sphere called Sputnik. The moment it beeped from low Earth orbit, both superpower governments realized a basic reality. Whoever controls orbit controls information, and whoever controls information dictates the battlefield. By the 1991 Gulf War, military analysts saw this theory put into practice. For the first time, satellite surveillance and space-based navigation directly determined the outcome of a conflict on the ground. During the Cold War, space was governed by the 1967 Outer Space Treaty. The agreement was designed for a less complex era, defining orbit as a peaceful global commons to be shared by all humanity. Today, commercial satellite networks routinely carry military data, and private companies sell battlefield intelligence directly to governments. This intentionally blurs the line between a civilian asset and a military target, making international law increasingly difficult to enforce. In 2021, Russia fired a live anti-satellite missile, destroying one of its own orbital assets. The strike created thousands of trackable fragments of debris, forcing astronauts on the International Space Station to shelter in emergency capsules. We rely on an orbital architecture built for maximum efficiency and global connection. It was never structurally designed to withstand targeted acts of warfare. To secure their own operations, major powers are now building independent infrastructure. China is deploying a sophisticated global surveillance network and its own alternative navigation system, while the United States rapidly expands its low Earth orbit constellations. The conflict in Ukraine demonstrated that modern combat units cannot effectively maneuver or coordinate without the real-time connectivity provided by commercial space operators. This chart shows satellite ownership. Half of all active satellites belong to a single private American company, outnumbering all national governments combined. When war zones rely on this private network, unilateral decisions are made by corporate executives, not elected officials or military commanders. In the next major global conflict, the ultimate chain of command may bypass generals entirely, dictated instead by the terms of a corporate contract. Take a moment to trace your own daily routines back to their source: a morning weather check, a grocery store debit tap, or remote rural medical guidance. All require an unbroken signal from space. If that orbital GPS infrastructure goes down, an ordinary city fractures almost immediately. Air traffic control loses synchronization, ATM networks drop completely offline, and emergency responders lose precision routing. Global supply chains and logistics networks operate on razor-thin schedules that require absolute precision timing. Remove the space-based clocks, and cargo ships stall in narrow straits, leaving store shelves empty within days. We have constructed a highly advanced civilization that functions perfectly under the assumption that a fragile network of hardware, suspended miles above our heads, will simply never break. History shows a consistent pattern with critical infrastructure. The telegraph, the power grid, the internet, each system became indispensable to daily life right before it became a prime military target. Because orbital weapons and satellite deployment are moving much faster than international diplomacy, resolving this vulnerability is no longer a problem any single nation can solve alone. The next global conflict likely will not arrive with a formal declaration. It will begin with a signal that simply stops arriving. These are present realities unfolding in orbit right now. If you want to understand the hidden systems that shape our world, subscribe to the channel and stay informed.